Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of CTRL INDIE. Today I'm thrilled to introduce you to BridgeBurner, the founder of HELLFORGE Studios, joining us all the way from New Zealand. In this episode we'll dive into the intricate design of Doom maps, the essence of crafting exceptional games, explore the complexities of world-building frameworks, and the GZDoom Engine's nuances. BridgeBurner has been a cornerstone of a growing community, offering genuine insights into the thrilling highs and challenging lows of game publishing. With unwavering dedication and passion, BridgeBurner is undoubtedly shaping an extraordinary legacy. BridgeBurner, welcome to the show. But before we start, how did you get involved in the world of game development?
It's answer is I'm not quite sure. It just kind of happened. But no, I have my background is the Doom community. So I used to dabble in map making, when I was a teenager, 20 years ago, on and off over the years, but never released anything. But then 2018, I randomly got back into it, looked at some of my old maps. I was like, it'd be quite cool to actually finish some of this stuff and release it. And that kind of grew, and I released my first map Christmas of 2018, I think it was, just over the New Year's. And then that was part of a community project, and my first solo map later 2019, and it just kind of built from there. And I built up a community, and Age of Hell was a Doom mod idea that I'd been working on and off for a long time, and I thought, this might be the time to actually get back to it and try and make something and finish it. And then that was around the time that boomer shooters were becoming more of a thing. Dusk, Medieval released Proteus. Discord was growing, and these kind of like sub communities were starting to sprout up. So there's a bit of a kind of bleed between the game dev scene and the Doom community. And GZDoom is the port that most of my stuff was made for, was also licensed for commercial release. And I was like, I'm making this mod. It was getting bigger, and we're making our own assets and own monsters and stuff. Like, this could be a game. And then we made a decision, let's make a standalone, standalone product. No Doom assets left behind. And that continued for a couple of years. And then just had an idea one day, like, what if I started a studio?
And here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And it really did grow out of the community. So I asked some friends and said, what do you guys think of this idea? Would some of you kind of like get on board with this? And we signed our first games, 22 years ago. Started then actually bringing them under the umbrella, and it's more of a game dev collective than a strict publisher dev kind of setup. And then there's still contracts involved, but I'm very hands-on and heavily involved with the devs and help them with testing, and particularly with the games that are in GZDoom as well. I provide input and technical expertise. So I do level design as my primary skill set. So I'm pretty familiar with the tools, so I can get directly involved with the game creation itself and help out that way.
So could you share a bit about the storyline of your current project, The Age of Hell?
Yeah, it's funny because for a longest time there was no story. It was just who cares about story? Just make the game
basically
fun. But story is good, and even something like a Medieval, which is one of my favorite of the new crop of boomer shooters, has a story. It's quite a simple one, and it's not a massive part of the actual play experience, but there's still context for what you're doing. So the idea was, because there's lots of games where the demons invade, and Doom obviously does that plenty of times. So I wanted something slightly different to that, still fighting demons. So it's more, it was actually inspired by Diablo 1. So the idea in Diablo 1 is you rock up to Tristram, and it's a small village, and there's this evil underneath, and it's just kind of slowly seeping out, and it's just kind of there. So the idea was something similar, like you are the Crusader, and you hear about this distant evil that's kind of getting into the mortal plane, and you go wander off to investigate. And as you progress through the episodes, they get more and more hellish as you get closer and closer to hell through these different realms. There's 6 episodes planned. So that was the original plot. That's expanded quite a lot. Like we've built a fairly large amount of lore now. Not going to reveal too much. Most of it's still pretty secret. Not that it's like shocking or anything like that, or needs to be kept quiet. But we'll leak it out as things become more fleshed out. But there was things I can reveal. There is an order of Crusaders, or there were. You're a member of a holy-ish order. So there's no like god or anything. It's not that kind of. There's no deity, no divinity, but they operate like a holy order of defenders of the realm kind of thing, and that they grew out of a need to protect themselves and these demonic incursions. And it's very much like kind of D&D multiplanar kind of thing, rather than Hell being a separate, the demons sending agents in. So it's quite cool, because I've got a couple of people I'm working with are very narratively driven and love lore. So just the ideas have been growing and growing. So I've got a big spreadsheet of ideas on our project docs of just little notes that I put down and little ideas. I get a lot of inspiration from heavy metal lyrics.
I noticed. Yeah.
So like I listen to a song and there'll be a line and they're like, "Oh, that'd be cool. I'll write that down." Originally, every map was actually going to be named after a metal song, much like how Cyberpunk's quests are all music tracks. So there'll still be that theme that threaded through there as well. So, but there will be a decent amount of lore in there, presented in a way similar to maybe like Doom Eternal, where there's little lore cards that you can pick up and read if you want to, but you don't have to go through like a forced story too much. But there's a main protagonist, there's a main antagonist, there's a big bad evil, we'll build a bit around it. So that's quite fun. I've never really done anything like that before, full world building, and it turns out, I quite enjoy it.
How do you manage to innovate amidst the intense competition in the boomer shooter genre?
Yeah, it's because Age of Hell started like it was a very slow over years. Like it's taken shape as an idea. There wasn't any concrete like design docs to start with. We do have now, but a lot of the mechanics were just like, this feels fun, let's try that. And it's taken a lot more mechanical inspiration from Doom Eternal than Classic Doom now. So originally it started off feeling quite like the OG, the original Doom, but we've got like an upgrade system, added in a dash, the kind of pretty standard boomer shooter mechanics or FPS mechanics, it's to be honest, one of the biggest changes was the upgrade system, which we've got, which is like a randomized, it's almost like a roguelike, where you open these chests and you get presented with a couple of cards and you pick one of those two. That whole chest, there's a list of upgrades and it's random which one it gives you. So every time you play, it could be something different. That idea was, there was an old Age of Hell demo back when it was more akin to a Doom mod, as we were kind of transitioning into a standalone, that my coder, kind of co-lead, he does all the modeling, he's made all the monsters, does all the code work behind the scenes stuff. He just made the system from scratch. I don't know, because I wanted to make a melee weapon that was fun in a first-person shooter, which is quite hard to do, because as soon as you get a gun, it's like, cool, I can shoot you from range. Why would I go up close and hit you with something? One of the earliest ideas that I had was I want to make melee still useful in the first-person shooter setting. And I love Warhammers. It's always been my favorite melee weapon. So a hammer was the natural choice. And we made this hammer only mode. So the only weapon you've got, and this is the current demo as well, is your hammer. And then to make that powerful, there was a system of upgrades that you get as you played. And it was incredibly fun, like arguably better than the actual normal gameplay. So I was like, "Ooh, that upgrade system works really well. Let's put that on all the weapons. Let's make that a core mechanic throughout the whole game, build into a continuous play. So as you go through a whole episode, you get more and more upgrades, get more and more powerful. You can kind of like create a build, like in an RPG. Like there's certain themes that if you draw the right cards, you can lean into certain play styles. So that mechanic became a really core defining feature for Age of Hell, and pretty much all the combat now revolves around that system and the power curve that those upgrades bring. which allows us to, because one of the tricky things is how quickly do you give out your weapons to your player? Like, you don't want them to get bored, you want them to have variety, but if you give all your weapons all at the beginning of the game, then you get no rewards to add in later. Because you want to keep some things in your pockets to like give to the player as they get through, to keep them keen, keep them interested. So by having an upgrade system, we can draw that out. I can give you 2 weapons to start with, but then 3 different upgrades, and that keeps the weapons fairly fresh. And then we give another weapon a few levels later, a couple upgrades for that one, and we can draw that out and build in variety, particularly because the upgrades are randomized into that gameplay loop. And that was all just like a complete like happy accident. It came from this one idea that my friend had, and he just chucked into the game and said, "What do you think of this?"
Yeah.
So like, as far as like rule, I think it's good to if I was gonna build a game from scratch again, and I will, I'm growing well, make more games. Start off with a design doc. How do you want it to feel? It doesn't have to be like we will put a dash in, but it's like, do you want fast combat? Do you want a fast player speed? Do you want to be able to jump a lot? How many enemies are you going to be fighting? Is it like one-on-one kind of combo, or are you going to be fighting hordes? In which case, if you're fighting hordes of enemies, well, then your weapons need to do splash damage or have a way to kill things quickly en masse. Is there going to be some sort of upgrade mechanics, those kinds of things? And a design doc is always changing. If you write it down, it doesn't mean that it has to stay there. But having some sort of framework to start with, like the feel of what you want your game to be, I think is a good way to start. Because then once you start putting those down, you think, okay, we want fast movement. Does that mean a dash? Does that mean a crouch slide? Then you can start looking at specifics of how do we convey that fast combat, that fast movement? Is it by doing lots of jump pads? Do we have rocket jumping or stuff like that? And you can link to existing stuff. So, okay, cool. We want to have rocket jumping like Quake, and we want to have a dash like Doom Eternal or whatever it might be. That way you've got a reference to go, okay, we're kind of leaning into that and take ideas from those other games.
For those new to game development, could you explain the benefits or differences of using GZDoom compared to other engines in simple terms?
It's pretty similar. There's a lot of parallels, but the core difference with GZDoom is it's I might get some of the technical details wrong here, but it's a BSP based editor, based geometry. So instead of like making a model and then giving it a collision mesh that the player can then walk up or monsters can walk over or whatever it might be, GZDoom, the collision's all like baked into the geometry. So you draw what's called a sector, and then the engine gives it sort of properties. It will automatically have walls. It's got a height. It's actually very easy. Like, it's a very simple process. It's probably one of the easiest engines to build a play space super quickly. And like say with Quake, you have to build each wall individually out of brushes. So, and Quake has an incredible editor with Trench Broom as well. It is literally just drawing lines. So you like draw a box, and you've got a box, and you can drop your player into it straight away. So one of the strengths of GZDoom is how easy it is to create a playable environment. And it's a very low barrier for entry, but it does have its flaws. Collision is one of the issues, like for actors, so for monsters and stuff, they've got to be a square, the collision. Can't be a rectangle, can't be any other shape. So you can make it out lots of little squares, but each collision box has to be a square, which can create problems. All these things that you have to think about. Like, a lot of these issues are easy to deal with if you're aware of them ahead of time, and you're okay, we won't do that. We will make sure that any model's geometry is in any place where the player can't touch it. The Doom Builder has a model export tool where you can export the geometry that you can make into a model, which is great for performance. So GZDoom can use models like Unreal and Unity, but giving them proper collisions really is quite tricky. So okay, all the stuff on the ceiling, like in HEL, all the stuff you see up high, all models, you never touch it. You might fire a rocket, it might go through an arch, but most people don't notice that. So you can fake collision for key areas if you need to stop monsters flying through things. But generally, it's like if the player can't touch it, then you don't have to get the collision. It's just there to look pretty. That's now a workflow that's well integrated into GZDoom, and you'll notice a lot of the GZDoom games is making heavier usage of models. which is makes it look cool. You can do better detailing, and it also really helps performance. Because GZDoom doesn't have any kind of like distance-based culling, so that's one of the flaws. It's like if you can see it, the engine is going to render the whole thing. You can't tell it to not render stuff in the distance. It will render everything you see, which for big areas can definitely lead to some performance drops if you're not careful. But yeah, it's a really easy engine to just start making stuff, particularly if you're level design focused. You can pick up, you can just make it with the classic Doom assets, just if you want to start grey boxing, just building some areas and then having a feel for things, and then you can add in your own assets really easily. It's a good place to learn for sure.
So when it comes to game development, do you follow a set routine or process, or is it more of an organic creative flow for you?
It's a little bit of both. So like Saturday, because I've got a day job, as do most of the people that I work with. So we try and get what we can done during the week, but Saturday's my dev day. So I always set aside a Saturday, I stream it, and I normally try and put in a good 8 hours of work and get some tasks. Just because I'll set myself little goals. I want to optimize this area, I want to make, finish this room off, I want to test these fights, whatever it might be. And then out of that will come like, okay, we need these things finished. So at the moment, Mr. Cat's working on, he's my co-lead, he's working on the upgrades for the Super Shotgun, because the Super Shotgun was in the demo, so we didn't have the upgrade systems made for that yet. So that's what he's working on, and that's his current priority, is to finish those upgrade systems for all the weapons, because I'm pretty close to being able to work through all the episode 1 maps and finish the combat. So that's my next really big work front over the next few months. So the last 6 months has been optimization of the old maps, kind of bringing them up to scratch, putting the new textures in, and that's about 3/4 done. The rest of that will be finished as I go and actually finalize the map. So there's a bit of a program, there's a bit of a schedule of what I want to try and do. But like I said, a lot of us have day jobs and real life stuff that intrude. So you can't really set any super firm deadlines, because otherwise people burn out, it gets a bit too stressful. As we get closer to release, there will be firmer deadline. Once we've picked a release date, it's like, cool, we have to be fucking finished by this date. So I've got goals in mind about when I want that to be. It'll be next year sometime, all going well. As that gets closer and we get start tightening things up, and there'll be probably more structured processes. But that's not to say that you can't, like Relentless Frontier devs, they've got a really structured process. Cornerstone on the lead there, he's a really good project manager. They use Trello a lot, job cards, all that kind of thing, regular meetings, and that works really well for them. To have those very clear expectations, like, okay, cool, this thing will be finished by next Monday and this will be the following month, and blah blah blah. That they put to good use. So it varies from team to team. So there's no best way. Some people work better under loose guidelines, some people work better under very strict regimented systems. So it's about finding what works well for you and your game, more than anything.
Of course. No, that's one of the best things of being a solo dev or an indie dev, because you have more flexibility in sense of, or in terms of schedules and deadlines. Because of course, if you work for a big company, anything, it could be EA, Epic Games, whatever. Of course, you have to earn the paycheck, and of course you have to be more.
Because I work in construction as my day job. Like I'm a site manager, so I'm the guy who sets those deadlines. And if we miss them, it can get very, very expensive very, very quickly. If we don't deliver the project on time to the client, big building, finished building, then there can be costs associated with that. So very important to have your regular milestones. Pouring the foundations, putting up the steel, putting up the walls, whatever it might be. It's like, cool, we are on time. Okay, now this is actually a week behind. So if we don't, we have to try and catch that up with somewhere else, kind of thing. So understand for those big AAA games, there's hundreds of people often working on them. You do need that structure, otherwise you'll never get it finished. And to be honest, indie games are kind of known for taking a long time. And it'll be nice to be able to make these a little bit quicker. But when it's a couple of people, 2, 3, often there's a limit to how much you can get done in a day. And they just do take a long time. And a rushed product is normally not a good one. I look a lot to New Blood as inspiration, as a company that doesn't really, small team, often one or two person teams with a couple of contractors helping out. Really well supported by Dave Oshry. The game will be done when it's done. There's plenty of time to make it. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of super firm pressure to you have to be done by this date. I'm sure they've got targets internally that they try and hit, but Dave's very public about it'll be done when it's done. We'll release things when they're ready. And they make fantastic games. You can't argue with the results.
No.
And they sell really well. So people respect that. And it's because the games come out excellent. Whatever's released is exceptionally high quality, well tested, very polished. Even the early access stuff is still feels really finished. Might not only be one episode or whatever, but whatever they put out, they make sure it's good. And they also respond really well to feedback. As well, so when people say, "Hey, this system doesn't work," I know they had issues with the save system in Gloomwood, and it was based on the early access feedback that they got from the players. They changed it to make it a bit smoother to use, so that they show that if they get that constructive criticism, they'll actually respond and make changes, which is really good. So I look a lot up to New Blood for kind of inspiration, and that's definitely the model that I'm trying to go for with HELLFORGE Studios. Whether or not we succeed, we'll see. Pretty high bar that I've set there to be like New Blood, but I just really like the way they work. I think their devs always seem really happy, taken care of. Game development's really stressful, even when it's going well. So I like the way that Dave makes it as easy as possible for everyone who works for them, and they've been so successful they don't actually accept publishing pitches anymore. It's all in-house development, just keeping the same devs, making more games with them, and that's a great model if you can make it work.
Of course. How do you handle the pressure of releasing a game and ensuring it succeeds?
Yeah, I've always been a big advocate for enjoying what you do. I think there are definitely easier ways to make money than being an indie game developer. There's a lot of easier ways to make money, to be honest. So for me, it's really important that both me and the people that I work with, mostly because you don't always love it all the time, but generally you enjoy the work that you do, the game that you make, like that. Then that should be priority number one. Is having fun and doing what you love, because these are all passion projects at their heart. These people they put just thousands of hours get put into these the development process, and when, particularly for small indies, you're not getting paid a whole lot. You're certainly not getting paid while you're making it. So you might get a good payday once the game comes out, but until then you're working for free. So it's hard to do that if you don't enjoy it. So I'd say that, and that makes fixing problems easier. To go back to your question, is if you're happy with the work and you're enjoying the game that you're making, you like playing it, you want to fix it. So I remember with one of the big learning curves for me with the Age of Hell demo was tutorialization, teaching people how to play a game. This is not that I hate it, but it sucks that you have to teach people to be able to enjoy a game. Like, it'd be nice just to be able to give them the game and they go have fun and they know how to play it and you don't have to do anything. But life's not like that. So part of making sure that people have fun with your game is teaching them how to play it, but teaching them how to play it in a way that is smooth and integrated into the game experience. It's not just a bunch of text on screen. We've all seen those kind of tutorials before. People don't read that stuff. So it's a real art form to integrate tutorialization well into your game. Something that Ultra Kill, going back to New Blood, does exceptionally well. They've got what's called a running tutorial, so it's part of the gameplay experience. You can't skip it, but it's also fun because tutorials can be boring. So you want it to be fun, combat, all the things. So as you're teaching people these new skills, these new mechanics, whether it's a dash or a double jump or alt fire on a gun, they get to use it. They get to use it in fun ways, in fun environments. It's not like here's a tutorial room. Although some game like Armored Core 6, I think, has like kind of like tutorial-y kind of fights. And then like simulation, so it's like it is still built into the game lore, but it is a bit more like here's a tutorial room. Doom Eternal did have those pop-ups as well, and it's got things like the control. So there's ways to do it well, so I think that was probably one of the bigger recent challenges for me was learning how to teach people within the context of the game. Because when you're making Doom mods, you can make there's some really impressive, elaborate, custom content for classic Doom. People know how to play Doom. You don't have to teach people how to play Doom for those. It's like, okay, but new game, even if it's similar to other games, people, even the simplest stuff like what's the jump button, like that's important to teach them. Like, what does a door look like? What do your switches look like? Particularly at my kind of levels with their big, elaborate designs, very, very beautiful. Lots to look at. It's like, how do I make a simple switch stand out? The key is to like have the same texture so people learn to recognize it. That's the switch. But you have to teach them that that's the switch. And then remind them again. Only 3 times is enough. I had problems with people not recognizing what a door was. I thought they looked pretty door-shaped, but apparently not. So I had to make a sign. There's a kind of red and white pentagram that's on every door that you go up and use. It's on there. So it's like you learn to recognize that symbol rather than the shape of a door. It's like, that means door. So stuff like that. It was good thing about tutorialization is once you've done it, you don't have to do it again. It's just once in the game. So that's the good news with that one is once you've done it well, you don't have to tutorialize every single map. It's just when you bring in a new mechanic. So you might have something new in a second episode, a new weapon or something that okay, cool, we have to tutorialize that now, but you don't have to tutorialize all the basic stuff that you've already done. So that's the saving grace there, is that it's a one-time job. Like I said, I think being in love with what you do is a big help for when you find those issues things you don't really want to work on, problems you got to fix, hard work. So the most recent example has been I've been going around optimizing. So I learned a lot with the HL demo about some new workflows, using a lot of models, much better performance. So I'm taking what I've learned that, applying it to episode 1. It's a lot of rebuilding, a lot of pretty menial tasks, lots of just reworking areas and converting things to models and simplifying geometry whilst maintaining the detail. It's pretty grindy. So that's been a not hard, like not a super tough job, but a long-term kind of slog. And it's like, you're going to remind myself that once this is done, I don't have to do that again. And then I can get back to making new stuff. And I've interjected like some new map work and to keep the creative juices flowing as little rewards here and there. I imagine it would be I probably would have stopped if I didn't know that I will enjoy the work that's coming up. So and then I like playing the game. I think that's a big part of it too. Is I tested the demo at least 100 times at this point, like full playthroughs. And I still really enjoy it. It's still lots of fun, and I still want to play it every now and then. It's like, I feel like playing the demo again, and I'll jump into it. So I think that's a good sign if you're not sick of your game after all that. Because it does happen, and most devs, by the time they get to actually finishing and releasing, it's like, I don't want to look at this anymore.
Get it away from me, please.
That's enough of that.
Yeah, of course. What is your strategy for gaining visibility and attracting players to your games? So if we're talking about Age of Hell specifically, it's important to recognize what makes your game different. And they call them the pillars. So game, you normally want 3. I feel like 3 is the sweet number. At least 2. You don't want 2 because too many unique things makes for a bad game. People need some familiarity. It can be done, but it makes it harder. Like if everything's new, if everything's unfamiliar, it's quite hard for people to get into it. Usually, it's better to have some connections back to things they've played, things they've seen. Important is to try and recognize early on what is making your game different. How are you standing out? Because it is a very crowded market out there at the moment. And for Age of Hell, it's the big one's the geometry. So again, back to the level design, that's what I do. I think Age of Hell really stands out visually in terms of its architecture, its designs, the way I build things. Very inspired by real life buildings and structures, and some other games like there's definitely Doom Eternal and Elden Ring in particular. Design tropes coming in there, but I draw a lot of inspiration from real world spaces. And I love recreating them. There's one map in episode 1 where there's a wall that's recreation of a Soviet circus building. This brutalist, great, cool brutalist structure. It's got this kind of zigzagging pillars.
I was like, that looks like fun to make. So I remade it. And it's like, so that's the big one I think for Age of Hell is it stands out visually, just the way it's presented, and these huge mega structures, beautiful lighting, all that kind of stuff. And that's what got me noticed as well, like with my Doom work, and people, I've got a bit of a following and won a few CAC awards over the years, is that visual presentation, and that translates quite well to social media as well. Video, whether it's videos or screenshots, people can look and go, wow, that looks really cool. For Age of Hell, that has worked really well. And then the gameplay pillar. Most games will have gameplay as a pillar, but like Age of Hell's very much slaughter map centric, which is fairly common in the Doom community. Huge fights, literally hundreds of enemies at a time, thousands of monsters in a map. Not so common in games, partly for performance reasons. But you don't often get. I think like Serious Sam has a bit of that. Some pretty big fights. And even like Doom Eternal might feel like a really frantic big fight, but you're only even fighting like 5 or 6 enemies at once. It's actually quite low. So you can make it feel busier, but like in terms of like actually massacring 100 enemies all at once kind of thing, that's not that common. So I think the gameplay stands out in that regard, and also with our upgrade systems, that roguelite mechanic almost, where everyone can be different based on what upgrades you pick, and they've got that randomization. I think that's become a core pillar for us. That's a bit harder to market directly, but it does. There's visual effects that go with the upgrades, so we can showcase that gameplay element relatively well. Because we do have like quite big, flashy combat, that also shines quite well on social media. In terms of like more direct marketing, it is the kind of standard stuff, posting on social media. Big use of Discord. That's kind of where things grow. So we've got a decent sized community that started off, my server started off as an Age of Hell server. It's now grown in scope, but that's a good place to kind of like build a base of supporters on it, and then Steam's internal systems. Although that's more for once you get to selling, but Steam's actually got quite good like news update systems and ways that it promotes your game internally. Some of it's a bit luck based. A lot of it's based on wishlist numbers, so it is a bit like the rich get richer. So the more popular your game is, the more Steam will push it. So there's certain thresholds that you have to hit for milestones to get into those algorithms. But that Steam is pretty good. It would be nice for it. It's things that it could do better. It'd be nice if it didn't take quite as big a cut. I don't know. There's plenty of chatter online about is Steam good or not, and it's the best platform for a reason. Like it does actually provide a lot of support on that back end for very little upfront costs. Like it costs you $100 to list a game on Steam, which is essentially a threshold to stop spam and malware and that kind of stuff. So considering what you get for that, and then everything else is free until you sell, and then Steam takes a percentage. Considering what you get for that $100, that's pretty good. And they're always improving it. They are updating it. They do things like they made Boomer Shooter an official tag. I think it was Christmas last year. So that if you're looking for those kinds of games, you can now look at Boomer Shooters as a tag, and you can choose to put Boomer Shooter as your tag. You don't have to convince Steam that yours is a Boomer Shooter. You can just add that tag. It's a tricky one, marketing, and it's getting harder at the moment. Social media is kind of collapsing. It's not good. It's probably going to get worse before it gets better, but it's got to kind of roll with events as they happen.
Does HELLFORGE Studios rely on organic promotion for its games, or do you invest in paid advertising as well?
It's all organic. Definitely not against paid advertising, but from what because I've done a bit of research and I've talked to people like Dave Oshry, and it's pretty random. Like it's hard to know what's going to succeed, and people don't like paid ads. YouTube ads are annoying. Ads on Twitter are annoying. Ads on Twitch are annoying. Everyone wants an ad. Everyone's got ad blockers. People hate being advertised ads. So, of course, because there's a difference between advertising and marketing. So, if I do a tweet, here's AJ Hell, here's a video of the new level or whatever it might be, or here's Relentless Frontier. It's coming from my account or the HELLFORGE Studios account. People are like, okay, cool, that's what you have made and you were talking about. Like, so that's marketing. Whereas if it's like a paid ad, just dropped into a feed, it's intruding. Like it's because people can follow me if they like my stuff. Whereas an ad's just like, here, look at this. It's a big sign that held up in front of someone's face. I'm like, go away. I don't want to look at that right now. And I feel like if we'd started a couple of years earlier, and it was 2 years ago, I'd be more tempted to probably try a paid advertising campaign on Twitter. But at the moment, it really doesn't feel worth it. So it's about finding where it's worth putting that money. But at the moment, it's all organic, just trying to build word of mouth. And then when we release stuff, we hand out keys, to streamers and YouTubers to try and entice them to make a video. We had pretty good success with getting people to play it on Twitch. It's a pretty big account. Shout out to Heavenly Father. To play it and enjoy Relentless Frontier. YouTube is a bit trickier. I think a lot of people are quite tired. The internet's not very fun at the moment. You make a video about something that you love and you get idiots yelling at you in the comments, and again, algorithms are getting broken, and it's really hard to know as a content creator what's going to do well as well. So these people suffer the same issue. It's kind of feels very random. It's like we used to be getting these good numbers, and now when I release a video, half the people see it, and you have no control over that. You just at the whim of the platform. So definitely feeling a bit of a down vibe with regards to a lot of that kind of stuff, unfortunately. But we'll keep making games and keep reaching out to people, and hopefully it'll improve sometime in the future. But it's definitely something I'm conscious of. That while it'd be lovely to have all these big YouTubers make videos of our games, they've got to pick and choose what they feel support their channel best.
Of course.
And you've got to play by the algorithm's rules to a large extent. So marketing it is a tricky one, and it doesn't help that boom shooters there's a lot of them out there at the moment. It's quite saturated. We're probably at the peak of that wave over the last kind of 6 years. Really started with Dusk. It was probably one of the, I think that was where the term came from originally. And there's a lot of them made because there are a lot of people like first-person shooters, and they are a relatively not easy but simple game, I guess, at its core to make as your first in particular. You can make something fairly. You don't want to use basic because it sounds negative.
No, of course.
But mechanically, not too complicated. There's, systems-wise, you can keep it quite stripped back if you want to, just to get a game out there. I think you'll find a lot of people will make one and then stop. They're like, okay, I made my game. That was hard work, and then move on. But and then long term, I'm not going to make first person shooters forever. I might make another one, but I'll be moving genres, and both as a studio as well, we'll branch out. It's just like first person shooters are what was being made over the last kind of 3 or 4 years. But there'll be other waves of other genres. There's a lot of side scroller, like platformer games, Metroidvanias are very, very popular. And again, that's a good indie, game to make because art style can really shine through. And I think that's the strength of indies. There's a lot of it's in the artwork. There's old school kind of, whether it's pixel art or hand drawn or whatever. There's some really, really gorgeous work out there. I think side scrollers show that off really nicely. Games like Blasphemous and Hollow Knight, stunning to look at. But it's tricky, but we'll just keep trying things and see what sticks when it comes to marketing.
The other day I was talking to Sam of Heron, and he said something that sticks with me. That you need to find your niche audience. And a lot of the algorithm of the social media is awful. Let's be clear. I mean, it's awful, and there's nothing to do about it, at least for a couple of years. But something that works, or at least in his own words, stick to your niche community. In this case, he talked about CV11, Icarus Lives, Kirk Collects. A lot of the YouTubers who are like I don't know if speciality is the exact term, but focus more on the boomer shooter side of things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's like a little like push that you have to your games, so that works. And I consume a lot of that. So
no, for sure. Yeah, you want his audience. Yeah, and if they've got an audience that likes boomer shooters, that's the people that you want, showcasing.
Of course.
Your game, there's no point. Someone who, I don't know, maybe they always play 4X strategy games. Their audiences are going to want to see, or less likely to want to see, a first-person shooter and have that like, that looks cool, I'll go buy it now. Any publicity is good publicity. But yeah, definitely focusing on people that have that as their market, as their core audience wants to see. They're obviously going to be much more likely to play it, and that's going to have a better result for you as the game maker by showcasing to the right people. Yeah, for sure.
What are your thoughts on the trajectory Doom as a franchise has taken throughout the years?
Broadly, I think it's good. It's funny because Doom 3 had exactly the same chat. I was like, is it really a Doom? And that, if it's got demons and it's called Doom, it's a Doom game. Shut up. I will fight anyone who says Doom 3 is not a Doom game. So, even the original, Doom 1 plays very differently to Doom 2.
Yeah.
Yes, it's all the same. Visually, it's the same. It's there's some new monsters and whatnot, and the Super Shotgun, obviously. But Doom 1 is quite claustrophobic. It is leading more into a scary horror style of game in terms of its gameplay. And I remember being terrified of it as a kid. There's one map in particular. E1M4, there's this section of corridors. It's all dark, and there's pinkies and imps in there, and they jump out of the corners at you, and I'm crawling through. They're just inching forward. Is there a monster? Inch forward. Is there a monster? And then Doom 2 is a faster paced, more action oriented. I find. So Doom's always kind of oscillated between heavier action and heavier atmosphere. And Doom 3 is obviously probably the most atmospheric and plays like a horror action. And I loved it. When it came out, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was terrifying. I'd turn all the lights off, crank the noise up, play in the dark, lean into it. And, it was so good. They really leaned into that horror atmosphere. Gameplay's a little bit chewy at times. By the time you fight
the shotgun, especially.
I don't mind the shotgun. I'm just getting close.
I hate it. Sorry.
But by the time you fight your 10th imp hiding behind a doorway that jumps at you, that trick gets a bit old. You can probably cut out most of the alpha labs and the game will be improved. But Doom 3's Hell in particular is the best game depiction of hell I've ever seen. I'm going to be borrowing quite a few ideas from Doom 3 Hell, the way bricks would fly out and build a wall in front of you, and it was all very surreal, very alien looking, a weird gravity. Got kind of unknowable horror, almost Lovecraftian touch, but I think feels like hell. Hell would be not just evil and horrible, but really fucking weird. And Doom 3's got its weird hell, and I love it. And then Doom 2016 came out, and that was much more of a throwback to older Doom. Simple strip back story. Just you're an angry dude fighting demons. Man too angry to die. And you had the classic UAC fucking around with hell energy again, and bad shit happened, and Doom guy's I've got to fix this. So and that came out, and that everyone that was just hit the world by storm when that popped out. And everyone was like, "Holy shit, this feels so good!" The reception to Doom 2016 was incredible. And then because I really like Doom Eternal as well, and I think Doom Eternal built on Doom 2016's gameplay. It's a better gameplay loop, the double jump, the dash, being integrated by punching, the glory kills, all that systems, all the upgrades. It's a very, very tight combat loop, really, really good. But I think the story gets a bit rogue, particularly in the expansions. The story gets a bit airy fairy. I like the fact that they tried new things. I'd rather see them try stuff and it not quite be perfect than stick to safe. Ancient Gods, particularly the first one, they really turned up the difficulty. Ancient Gods 1 is hard because people like the difficulty of Doom Eternal. They're like, give us more, and they're like, okay, and then everyone's like, oh, this is pretty hard. And then Tag 2 went the other way. It's probably generally a bit easier. And And I don't like some of the new mod. Like I thought the stoneums didn't really need to be added, and the curse prowlers. But again, they're trying stuff. So I like that, and I think Doom Dark Ages, while it's still a long way to go before. Actually, it's next year I think it comes out. Before we actually play it, I'll reserve any really definitive commentary till then. I feel like they're going to sounds like they're going to a slower paced gameplay. More of like the Doom, closer to Doom 2016's kind of speed, maybe even further back to classic Doom. You're going to be more of a plodding kind of tank kind of character that goes stand toe to toe with these demons. So I don't know. I think it's good. To be honest, I would rather have seen a Quake as their next game. I don't actually like Quake, but I think Quake deserves.
No. Yeah. Of course.
Deserves. I mean, people want Quake, like new Quake game, new single player Quake. They've done Wolfenstein, really well. Certainly, New Order and Old Blood are excellent.
Even the 2001.
The Return to Castle Wolfenstein. I've played the 2009 one, which I think is a T4, which I still need to play. Wolfenstein got some great new content over the years. Doom's got plenty now. Quake is next on the list, surely. Because they've done the remasters with Quake 1 and 2, which are really, really cool. But I'd love to see an Intech 7 engine quite single player Quake game, go back to the Lovecraft roots, the Eldritch horror kind of stuff, really, really push that engine to make some crazy shit. And I think it would get a pretty big fan base straight off out the door. So I was surprised that another Doom game was what was announced. Be curious to see how it plays and what it feels like. It seems like an extension of the new Doom feeling. But it looks like they are changing things up, trying the combat pacing will be different. As you say, it's got that coating of medievalness over the top of it. Lots of castles and shit, I'm assuming, will be in there. And I'm sure it'll look stunning, and it'll be fun. But it'd be interesting to see just how different it is to things like Doom Eternal. Yeah, but no, broadly, I think it's good.
Yeah.
I like when people try and make new stuff that actually feels new. Yeah.
How does HELLFORGE Studios identify potential games for development? Are there specific criteria or qualities you look for?
Yeah, a bit of both. So now that we've built a bit of a name, known I've been pitched games, and people who are looking for publishers, they call it a pitch deck. Will put forward their case, and they'll say, this is our game, this is what we need, and go from there. But most, I think, just about all of our stuff that is known as stuff with people that I approached. Partly because a lot of them are games that have grown out of the Doom community, so it's people that I a lot of these people I actually already knew. People like CTRL from Relentless Frontier, met before we've had a professional relationship. Normally it's most of it's me going out there seeing something. I help with Reload Magazine, and they do game jams. So our most recently announced game is Ivor, which is a Norse, almost like call it Scandinavian Quake, maybe.
Basically.
So very, very, very Norse, like proper Norse mythology. That was a game jam game originally, and that's how I found that team. They actually made 2 game jam games. They made another one last year called Magical Rifle Girl. That blew me away. That was a lot of fun. I thought, man, there's a really cool concept here. The way that the gameplay worked, big mega structures. My kind of these big floating castle was the map. I was like, I love this. Imagine this taken out of a game jam into a setting, a production line with a bit more time and something really really cool would come out of it. And then they go, we actually we're not going to. We agree that there's something there, but there's a bit more time involved in that. But we're currently working on Ivor. But I remember that from a past game jam. And so we got to talking, and I was like, no, I'm keen to help you out. And their little indie team, again, people with day jobs, so they're just kind of ticking away in the background with this game. And it's way we to strike up a conversation. It's like, here's what we can offer to help you. Is that stuff that you will make your game better, make your job easier. And that was our most recent announced signing. So a lot of it is just me keeping my eye out to see what's out there. We've got a pretty full catalog at the moment, so I'm not actually actively hunting as much as I used to. Because we've got I think nine or 10 games announced, and there's a couple that I haven't. So it's a very full catalog, which is great. Like it's a great position for me to be in. Is I don't need to go look for games at the moment. I've got plenty to keep me busy. So, but I've found quite a few on Twitter before it got terrible. But I tried
you cold email them like, hey, I like your game.
Yeah, pretty much. So exactly. Yeah. So I like, hey, this looks cool. I'll reach out. That's how I found Hellslinger. Was seeing some of their artwork on the social medias. I'm like, man, this hand drawn stuff looks cool. And I was like, wait, this is a GZDoom. I can help with this. So Hellslinger was like Divine Frequency was a Doom mod originally. And that one was an interesting one because me and one of the other guys working on Divine Frequency, Clay, he's the modeler, he's made all the enemies, just like slowly prodding Genghis to like, you should make this a commercial game. Because originally it had Hellslinger was like Divine Frequency, like all good Doom mods. It's got like ripped assets from old games, like Blood, the zombies are from Blood and stuff like that. But it's like, man, if you're actually taking these steps to replace these assets, you're getting closer and closer to a commercial, being able to make it a standalone commercial game. And it took a year and a half. So it was just slowly, just every now and then, just a little bit of a poke. What do you think? And the seed was planted, and it's like, I'm going to do this. And man, that thing's coming out good. And like the freedom that he's, Genghis has now to build his own world, to build his own thing, all from scratch, and it's rocketing along pretty quick as well. So that one's exciting. But yeah, it's that Doom community connection that led to that, and I think that's again, kind of where we all started and where our roots are, and that's one of the strengths of what we've got going at the moment with HELLFORGE is that connection, either to find new games or people to help out. So because these are all GZ, I was like, hey, I know this guy can make levels and he can help you out. So and I'm trying to develop in-house skill sets. So one of the more recent ones was giving some people up with texture creation. So people who bought a couple of copies of Substance Designer and gave to some friends pretty much and said, have a go. And now they're making textures, and one of them's doing the Sega Gazebo, doing all the textures for the Divine Frequency. And so a lot of it was just keeping my eye out for things that looked interesting and using focusing on the community stuff first, like people that I don't know think games that or the GZDoom Doom Builder workflow that I'm familiar with, because it's like I can directly help with that, and I know other people who can directly help with that as well. But no, it's once we've released, we've got a few things scheduled over the next 6 months. Once we've got some more stuff out the door that's not as active development, then I'll be on the prowl for some new stuff, maybe second half of next year. But I'm always interested in a conversation. If someone approaches me or I see something that I think would really fit well, I'll start the talk, because it can take a while to land. Like Coven, I actually approached him originally back in 2022, almost 2 years ago, about potentially publishing, and he was not wanting to put pressure on, like publisher pressure, like just the idea. He's making a commercial game, but he's like, I have a day job. I want a bit of freedom. I was like, yeah, that's fair enough. And then ironically, he lost his day job. He's like, I can focus on my game full time. And I was like, that publishing thing sounds like it might be quite handy now. The reason why I didn't want to do it has gone, and Ethan came back and approached me. I think it was 4 months ago, beginning of the year, and it's like, hey, I'm quite interested in what you were offering. It's like, hey, hell yeah, like Coven's awesome. I love Coven. So, but sometimes those seeds that you plant take a while to come to fruit. And if I hadn't had that conversation, a couple of years ago, this opportunity wouldn't have popped up. And Coven's getting quite close to a release, and it was like timed out really nicely with that kind of stuff. So it's there's no best way. It's about seeing the opportunities out there and people who might be receptive to what we do. And make it, personality fit and all that kind of stuff as well. is a big part of it. So yeah, it's been going well though.
HELLFORGE Studios' initial game lineup is remarkably strong. How did things reach that point?
Because one thing that I do try is to sign things that do stand out. So yes, they're all first-person shooters. Yes, a lot of them are in GZDoom, but they've all got, again, we go back to those pillars. They've all got a certain thing that makes them stand out. You know, Malapataka is a great example. It's a completely different art style, like true pixel, hand-drawn pixel art, but with a lot of cultural influence. You know, Santitio's from Indonesia, and it's the story is drawn on you know, I think some Indonesian folklore. It's definitely had an impact as part of the music. The Indonesian chiptune scene is a thing, and like he's been able to tap into a lot of excitement, you know, locally. And he's been to a couple of game events, and you know, which is really, really cool. So you know, having each game having its own little thing that it does really well, it was important to me to make sure that there was something distinctive between everything. Like you say, you know, Disdain's, you know, very Quake in its DNA. Modeled enemies. Nash is a genius. So like, ironically, I actually got in touch. Originally got in touch with him about a different game that he was making that's currently on hold, and will probably switch to Unreal Engine as well. And then he goes, "Oh, I'm actually going to start working on this other thing, Disdain. You know, would you be interested?" I was like, "Hell yeah! Anything made by Nash is worth paying attention to." And because he's like involved in GZDoom port development, that he brings his own like a unique skill sets to game creation. He creates all these amazing workflows, and it's while like gameplay wise, it might be, you know, reasonably straightforward. You know, very Quake like. What he brings is like these great mechanics, systems under the hood. And the actual engine code, so AI, the way monsters move, like he's shown me some of the new stuff that he's done. So normally with a Doom sprite, like the legs they'll show the walking frame, but it just kind of slides around. And the steps that it's taking aren't really related to anything. It's just an animation that plays while the enemy moves. What he's done, because everything is modeled, is it actually takes steps and it moves exactly as far as each step. And that's insane. Like that's pretty revolutionary. I don't, you know, very doable in other engines, but particularly for GZDoom, that's pretty out there. So he's built all these really cool workflows behind the scenes to like automate all these animation sequences in Blender, and really exciting. There's some, I can't say too much. There's some things happening behind the scenes. Like good things, really exciting things. So Nash will make some announcements when he's ready, but like I said, there's lots to be really excited about that. And then you got HL, which is big geometry and all abstract, looming architecture, divine frequencies, this weird surrealist horror that I still don't understand Genghis's brain. That man is weird in all the best possible ways. Like I don't think he quite understands what he's doing sometimes, but his grasp of like smooth design and like I was worried that divine frequencies were quite hard to play, quite mechanically involved. But his UI systems are incredible. Like Sulaco good. They look fantastic as well. Like just going through the inventory menu and selecting things is fun. Like if you can make working your item inventory an enjoyable process, then you're a long way to people loving your game. And obviously, the presentation of Divine Frequency is just something else. And the stuff that they've been cooking up for the full release is next level. There's some crazy shit coming. So like everything in Hellsinger's got its hand drawn, cell shaded art styles, and everything's got its own standout features. And I'm really happy with how they all kind of, as I say, look together as a lineup. It's a pretty good one. I personally wouldn't quite put it on the same level as New Blood, but thank you for saying that. So
what essential tip would you give to someone who is just beginning their game development journey?
I think that do what you love is still my core kind of thing for anyone, which we've already talked about. So, but I do say that, and I do think that's really important for people starting out, because, like I said, it's hard work. You're unlikely to make much money. You're certainly not going to make anything until you sell something. Enjoying what you do, enjoying your own game, enjoying whether it's level design or coding or modeling or whatever it is that you do, derive fun. Enjoy that process as much as you can. It's not to say that there aren't bits and time periods and sections of work that you won't like that will always happen. You'll be tired, you'll be bored of one thing, you've been doing the same thing for weeks on end, and you want to do something else. So you will have those moments, but if you at the core of it, if you have fun, then you'll keep going, or you're more likely to have. Because balancing workload as an indie dev is quite tough. You know, your solo devs or 2 to 3 person teams are very small. Everyone has a lot to do. I think that's actually a strength. So don't be afraid to have, because like if you're doing one thing all the time, you'll get sick of it. But if you've got several work fronts that you can tackle, it's like I'm running out of ideas here. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to finish this monster, whatever it is. But I can go work on this map, or even within the same work. So like if you've got, like for me, making a level, like I don't know what to do in this section, I can go work on this other section. I can work on this other map. So finding ways to keep doing stuff is really important, because you'll get burned out. There'll be times where you don't feel like working. So having, whether it's just some easy menial tasks like texture alignment or automatic cleanup or whatever it might be, there's usually something that's easy that doesn't require too much thought that you can just kind of do in an evening, just to get something done. And the feeling of accomplishing tasks, but it's also motivating. Ticking things off a list. Lists are good. Lists are always good. Make lists. Nothing quite like scratching things off a list. It's like, I did that, take that off. Okay. Even if you don't completely eliminate the list, then you might start a new list. Getting things off that list is always a good feeling. So yeah, lists are good. Don't be afraid to use design docs. It's definitely a good industry standard kind of thing to do. It doesn't have to be like a massive, weighty essay of hundreds of pages. Anything, just notes. Mine is chaotic as hell. It's largely just like phrases and sentences scattered around an Excel spreadsheet, but it's ideas, recordings, write things down. I went to a good GDC talk last year called The Art of the Shitty First Draft. It was mainly focused on narrative design, making a story. But you can't get ideas off a blank piece of paper. So write anything down, even if it's shit. Especially, the talk was like, it's good if it's bad. Because bad things make you go, oh, we'll change that, we'll get rid of that, we'll do this instead. You need something to start from. So don't be scared of just throwing down something, whether it's blocking out a level, narrative story, starting an enemy model, whatever it is. And it's probably going to be rubbish. You're not going to use it, but it gets you started. And you as soon as there's something to critique, something to review, something you can show other people, get feedback, gives you ideas, you keep going. So I think that's a really useful piece of advice. Not mine. I can't remember the guy's name. I think he worked for Pickpock, which is a New Zealand game company. And so that, getting something to anything down that you can then build off is a really good tip. What else? Don't be hard on yourself. Don't stress yourself out if you can avoid it. Game dev is hard work. It will take you a long time. Don't set yourself arbitrary deadlines that you can't meet. There'll be a point where you have to crunch because you've got it. You've said you're going to release the game on the date, or you've got to be ready. But give yourself enough time. Everything takes longer than you expect. Cutting yourself a bit of slack. Don't commit to too much. Still have plans. Still have programs. You can set yourself some deadlines, but don't hate yourself or think that you're a failure if you can't meet those self-imposed ones, because that's definitely a problem with indie devs and creative types, that we are our own worst enemy often. Harsh on our own work. Imposter syndrome is a thing. You get blocks. You can feel like your work's. There's a pressure to, like, internal pressure often to your work has to be the best you've ever done all the time. Like, everything has to be better than everything you've done before. Like, this has to be right up here. You're never going to be able to do that. Perfect is the enemy of good. Not everything can be perfect. Some things you want to put all your effort into, make it as good as possible, but good enough is good enough. Not every staircase has to be immaculately designed. Filler, as long as it serves a purpose. There's a good enough is quite often good enough. And then probably my other, this is definitely a personal one, is when you're making, whether it's making a level or the game or whatever, make sure everything's got a purpose. So if you're putting something in there, why are you putting it in there? What is it doing? What's its whether it's a mechanical purpose. Okay, I need an enemy that has a hit scan attack. I need that niche in my roster. It's a shotgun enemy. It's high alpha damage. It's got this kind of niche for its usage in the battles. I need a rocket launcher type weapon with explosives to be able to kill multiple enemies at once. So that's a niche that's got a purpose. that needs to be filled, to this room just looks cool. Looking cool is a purpose. Like, this is just a nice visual reward for the player, bit of a break between fights, nice vista to look at, just a nice space for the player to enjoy. Like, that's still a purpose. But make sure everything you do has a purpose. Partly because there's only so much time in the day and we have to be efficient and work on what needs to be worked on. But also, it means your game will be better. If everything feels like it's there for a reason, and like I said, looking cool is a reason, then because you play those games with, like, you get to an area like, why does this exist? Go back to Alpha Labs and Doom 3, like, that just drags on and on and on, all these corridors, all these doors, like, why are these here? Like, it's like, I'm just like the same fights, like, there's no escalation, it's just going and going. It's like, this could be cut in half and it would, the game would be better for it. So, sometimes less is more. Classic cliche saying, but it's true. And as someone who likes to put a lot of stuff in things, my detailing is very over the top and my maps are huge. It's something that I have to think about a lot. It's like, what is the purpose of this area? Like, do I need this fight? Probably not. Okay, but this one's important. This is for a key. This is a transition area between those two spaces because I need to be able to get the player from point A to point B. So, it's a thing that I'm always ticking over me. Like, why is this here? Why am I doing this? Not in an existential sense, but in a very true, like, what is this area doing? What is this monster here for? Why does this gun exist? If you can give everything a good reason, then it's worth staying. If you can't answer that question, it might need to be cut or given purpose. You feel like, okay, I need 7 weapons. An arbitrary number. Doom's got 7 weapons, or 7 number. We'll make sure each of those weapons has a purpose. Like, you can, so if one of them doesn't, it's like, maybe I only need 6 weapons then. And that's something I remember really early on with the HL weapons. Is like, what does each weapon do? Like, because Doom, a lot of the time, like, there's like weapons that become obsolete, like the super shotgun in Doom completely eliminates the need for the single barrel shotgun, with a few exceptions. Like, it's better at very long range. Plasma rifle pretty much makes the chain gun obsolete. So it's like, okay, I need to differentiate each weapon to make sure they stay useful throughout the game, and they've all got their own specific use case where they work better. So, like, our minigunners are very ammo inefficient, but it deals a lot of damage. It's not very accurate, but if you've got a big horde of enemies, like, it sprays bullets everywhere. And the alt fire leans into that, whereas the plasma rifle, which is equivalent, called Purifier, which is not in the demo, it's slower fire rate, bigger single target damage. It has a bit of AoE splash though as well, so it's good for, like, carving paths through enemies. So trying to, 2 weapons that are automatic, kind of similar, making sure that they've got enough variety in the uses. So what's the purpose of things is a good question to keep asking yourself as an indie dev.
So, BridgeBurner, is there anything you'd like to say to your fans or followers?
Well, thank you. I wouldn't. It's weird, slightly weird position to have not a big following, but at least some. People pay attention to what we're doing, our games and our work and enjoying and actually giving us money for games as well. People buying stuff. What? Genuinely thank you. It's a weird dream that I have to try and pull this off. I really don't have any grounding or rights to expect, or certainly not to expect it. Like, it's very strange. It's still very strange to me that this is actually working. Being somewhat successful at this thing. Genuinely thanks to everyone who follows us and plays our games and talks about them and all that. And we're only really just getting started. So there's a lot to come out. So I think that's probably another big one. It's like, you're going to see more from HELLFORGE Studios over the next 6 to 12 months. We've got some stuff coming out this year. There's some announcements to be made. You'll see that soon. It's only really going to grow from there. So, the best is yet to come. Like I said, this first wave, if you want to call it, of games of ours. They've been cooking for a good couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years. Some of them 20 years, like HL. So they're getting to that point of actually almost ready to release, which is really exciting. So. Watch this space. Really, we've got some stuff coming, and I think people will be very excited, and that's really cool. That's really energizing, because it is a hard road, this game dev stuff. So actually getting to those finish lines, or midway points, with early access kind of stuff. That's what we do it for. Is to actually get to that. it's easy to forget when you're in the game dev minds that you're trying to actually finish something, trying to actually release a game. Again, why am I doing it? Why am I making this game? Well, it's to release it. It's so other people can play it. So getting close to that is very exciting. And yeah, I think that's probably it.
And with that, we finish today's episode. A huge thank you to BridgeBurner for being with us. Be sure to follow BridgeBurner on social media and keep an eye out for the exciting projects HELLFORGE Studios has in store. My name is Juan Jose, and I invite you to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts on this episode. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this video are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Control Plus Indie and its owner. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The Control Plus Indie name and all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. All information, images, videos, or any multimedia content shown in this show is copyrighted. All rights reserved for BridgeBurner and HELLFORGE Studios.